Now come to the problems on magnetic effect of current. First question is a charged particle of charge q and mass m is moving with a velocity v as shown in the figure. Magnetic field is along the negative z direction. Select the correct alternatives. First is velocity of the particle when it comes out of the magnetic field is this. Second, time for which the particle was in the magnetic field, and distance travelled in the magnetic field. None of these. So, okay, come to the solution. The situation will be like this. X axis, y axis, and field is below this line. This angle is 30 degree. Field is in the xy plane, but below this line, like this. And a particle having charge q, mass m is projected with some velocity, say v naught, in this direction. So, obviously, as it enters into the magnetic field is like this. Here at the origin it will enter into the field, and magnetic field will exert force on this, and velocity is perpendicular to the magnetic field. So, it will move in a circular path in the magnetic field. Circle will not be completed. It will move in a circular arc inside the magnetic field, and radius of the circular path will be equal to mv by qb, and the force will be in this direction. So, center will be somewhere here on this line. Force will be acting in this direction, in the direction v cross b. So, this force is giving it centripetal force, that is, center is on the line of the force. So, let O be the center, radius is mv by qb. We can draw a circular arc here. So, its path will be something like that. So, here it will be exiting, and this is r. So, this also is r. So, we can see that this angle and this angle will be equal, and you can see this is 30. So, this is 60. So, this is 60. So, this also becomes 60. That is, the circular arc is subtending an angle of 60 degree at its own center. So, to know the final velocity, the speed has not changed, magnetic force cannot change, but the velocity will change because direction has changed. To write the velocity into the component form, we can see that if I project the initial velocity vector, so this angle will be 30 degree, and this is 60, this will be 90, because this is radius, this is tangent. So, they will be at right angle. So, this angle will be 30 degree. So, from the x axis, the velocity vector is making an angle of 60 degree. So, v will be equal to v cos 60 I cap plus v sin 60 j cap. We can see that this is one of the options. And for the time spent in the magnetic field, say this arc is subtending an angle theta at its own center. So, we can write theta is equal to omega into t, and omega we know is equal to qb by m. It is independent of the velocity of the particle. So, we can write that t, time spent in the magnetic field. So, theta is your 60 degree, that is pi by 3 qb by m. So this will be equal to pi m by 3 qb. So this is, I think, option B. And one more is distance travelled in the magnetic field. So distance travelled in magnetic field is just a circular arc that is subtending an angle of pi by 3. So length of the arc will be this. So this will be equal to pi by 3 mv by qb. So only first and second options are correct. Now come to question number 2. Question is, figure shows a square loop of 10 centimeter on each side in the xy plane, and its center is at the origin. An infinite wire is at z equal to 12 centimeter from above the y axis. So it's a 3-dimensional view. The loop is carrying a current 78 ampere and the wire is carrying a current of 65 ampere. So what we have to find? Resultant magnetic force on the loop due to the infinite wire is 6 into 10 to the power minus 4 Newton. Then magnetic force on the wire segment AB due to the infinite wire is in the positive x direction. Third is magnetic force on the wire segment CD due to infinite wire is in the negative x direction. Torque on the loop due to the magnetic force. So we can clearly see that from the figure that force on AB and CD equal to 0 as IDL and B vector are so there will be no force on these wires. Now for the force on AD and BC. So in the figure, given figure, it was 3-dimensional view. We can show it like this, that this is your wire carrying current in the outward direction I1, and here we have the two wires. This is wire DA, wire BC, and this distance is 12 centimeter. This is 5 centimeter, 5 centimeter. Total length is 10 centimeter. One side of the wire, and magnetic field is like this. Suppose this is making this angle is theta, so this will be theta. Similarly, and B will be like this. This is theta. So this R will be equal to 13 centimeter. Now resultant force is 2f sin theta. F sin theta is in the same direction for both the wires. So 2f sin theta. and this will be equal to 2 into mu naught I1 by 2 pi r. This is the field at the location of the two wires, and I2 into L sin theta. This is the total force. So let us put the values. This 2 will cancel, so it will be 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7 into 65 into 78 into 10 centimeter, that is 0.1. This is 13 centimeter, so 13, and sin theta means 5 by 13 from the figure itself. Pi we can cancel, and this 13 5, this 13 6, so it will be, this will be 6 into 10 to the power minus 4 Newton. So this is option A, I suppose. Next we have to calculate the torque. So torque is equal to mu naught I1 I2 by 2 pi r into A cos theta, L cos theta. So this is 2 into 10 to the power minus 7, 65 into 78. This is 13 into 10 to the power minus 2. This is 5 into 10 to the power minus 2, and cos theta means 12 by 13. So again 6, so this will be 7.2 into 10 to the power minus 5. So this will be option D. Now come to question number 3. This is an electron of mass Me and proton of mass Mp initially at rest move through a certain distance in a uniform field in time t1 and t2. Neglect effect of gravity, then acceleration of electron is much greater than proton. B is acceleration of proton is much greater. Third is t1 by t2 and fourth is also, which one is correct. So we can see that acceleration of electron will be much greater than acceleration of proton, as acceleration will be force by mass. Force is E into E on both in magnitude, but mass of electron, so therefore acceleration of electron is much greater than acceleration of proton. So this is your option A. And now for time ratio, so both are moving the same distances in time, different time, t1 and t2. So D, suppose half E by Me for electron into t1 square, and for proton we can write is half E by mass of proton into t2 square. So let us divide the two equations. So we can see that from this what we get, is t1 square by Me is equal to T2 square by MP. So T1 by T2 is equal to ME by MP under root. So this is option C. Now coming to question number 4. Question is, a particle of charge q and mass m moves rectilinearly under the action of an electric field E is equal to alpha minus beta x, where alpha and beta are positive constants. X is the distance from the point where the particle was initially at rest. Then the motion of the particle is oscillatory. Amplitude of the particle is alpha by beta. The mean position of the particle is at x is equal to alpha by beta. Maximum acceleration of the particle is q alpha by m. So we can see that E is equal to alpha minus, so acceleration will be force divided by mass. So this will be q by m. So A max will be q alpha by m. This is D option. We can see that this will be maximum when x will be minimum, that is equal to 0. Acceleration is maximum at x equal to 0. Now acceleration can be written as v dv by dx is equal to q by m. So v dv is q by m. So v square by 2. Alpha x minus beta x square by 2. So from this we get that v is equal to 0 at x equal to 0 and x is equal to alpha by beta. So this is at mean position f is equal to 0. So f is equal to 0, that is E is equal to 0, that is x is alpha minus beta x equal to 0. So therefore x is equal to alpha by beta is the mean position. This is, so v is equal to 0, v is equal to 0 at two positions from our previous calculation, at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to x is equal to 2 alpha by beta. So 2 extreme positions at two extreme positions at x equal to 0 and x is equal to 2 alpha by beta, and x is equal to alpha by beta is mean position. Mean position, that is motion is oscillatory. This is option A. So all the four options are correct. Now question number 5. A particle of charge minus q and mass m enters a uniform field B perpendicular to the paper inward at P and with a velocity v0 at an angle alpha, and leaves the field at Q with a velocity v at an angle beta as shown in the figure. So alpha will be equal to beta, v will be equal to v0, pq will be equal to 2mb sin alpha by bq. The particle remains in the field for this much time. So okay, we will have to draw the trajectory to come to any answer. So let us draw the trajectory roughly. So this is the line to the right of which there exists magnetic field directed into the plane of the diagram. Charge particle is negative, it is entering like this. It is making an angle alpha here. So since it is a negative charge, so it will experience a force, and the force will be in this direction. Because of negative charge, the force will be in this direction, like this. So it will move in a circle because V is perpendicular to B, so path will be circular and the center of the circle will be somewhere on this line, and radius of the circle will be mb by qb. There is no doubt about that. So if we draw the trajectory, it will be something like this. It will be something like a major arc, and here it is going with V, and this angle is given as beta and this angle is given as, so O is the center of the circle. This is because it is a negative charge. So this is tangent, this is radius, so this angle is 90 degree. So obviously this angle is 90 minus alpha, and if this angle is beta, this angle is going to be 90 minus beta. This is the radius, this is the radius. So this here OPQ is an isosceles triangle, so angles at the base will be equal. So 90 minus alpha must be equal to 90 minus beta. So therefore alpha will be equal to beta. So this is the option A is correct. And we know that magnetic forces cannot change the speed of the charged particles. It can change the velocity but not the speed. So V is equal to V naught. This also is correct. So this will be option B. So let us find the length PQ. So PQ will be equal to suppose that this point is S, so PQ will be equal to PS plus QS, and this will be can be written as this. So PQ 2 and PS will be equal to R cos 90 minus alpha. So 2m V naught by QB into sin alpha. So PQ is equal to this is option C. And the angle, now to find the time spent in the magnetic field, again we can see that this angle, so these two angles are equal, say 90 minus alpha and 90 minus alpha. So this angle is 2 alpha. So this angle will be equal to, this angle will be equal to 2 pi minus 2 alpha. That is, angle subtended by the arc at its own center is this. So time spent in the magnetic field T will be equal to theta by omega, and theta is 2 pi minus 2 alpha, and this is QB by m. So it is equal to 2m pi minus alpha divided by QB. This is option D. So all the four options are correct here. Now come to example number 6. So this is a square loop of side L is placed in the neighborhood of an infinitely long straight wire carrying a current I1. The loop carries a current I2 as shown in the figure. The magnetic moment of the loop is this. Second is again magnetic moment. Third is potential energy of the loop is minimum, torque experienced is maximum. So you can see that magnetic moment of the loop is given by your right hand thumb rule, right hand palm rule. So magnetic moment in vector form will be, it is current into area. So I2 into L square is the area and direction is k cap. So option A is correct. And potential energy is given by this minus mu dot B. So we can see that this is simply equal to minus mu B into cos 180, that is plus mu B. So U is positive, so maximum not minimum. So this option is not correct. And torque is given by, we know, mu cross B, so which is equal to 0. Why? Because angle between mu vector and B vector is 180 degree. So torque is equal to 0. So that option D is not correct. Only one option is correct here. So now coming to this question. AB and CD are smooth parallel rails separated by a distance L and inclined to the horizontal at an angle theta. A uniform magnetic field B of magnitude B directed vertically upwards exists in the region. EF is a conductor of mass m carrying a current I. For EF to be in equilibrium, I must flow from E to F. BIL is equal to mg tan theta, BIL is equal to mg sin theta, BIL is equal to mg. So okay, let us show a two-dimensional view. This is theta, this is the wire, and normal force mg sin theta, magnetic force, this this ILB can be resolved. This will be ILB cos theta, and here it will be ILB sin theta. We are resolving this. So we can see that for this magnetic force to be in a direction shown in the figure, current must be from E to F. So current from E to F. So this is option A. Current, if it will flow from E to F, then only the force will act in the direction shown. So for equilibrium, we can see that mg sin theta must be equal to ILB cos theta. That is, ILB should be equal to mg tan theta. This is option B. So A and B are correct answers. Now come to this question. A conductor ABCDE shaped as shown carries a current I. It is placed in the xy plane with the ends A and E on the x axis. A uniform magnetic field B exists in the region. In which direction? Okay. The force acting on it will be, what are the options? Okay, direction is given here. 0 if B is in the x direction, y lambda B I in the z direction, B in the y direction. Lambda B I in the negative y direction if B is in the z direction, and then lambda A B I. So we know that to calculate the magnetic force on a current carrying wire, expression is like this. This is the expression, and field is uniform, so it will be simply IL cross B. We can see that vector notation is there on the length. So we have to take the vector length of the wire to calculate magnetic force on it. So vector length of the wire is equal to lambda. So length of the wire should be taken lambda to calculate the magnetic force. So it is IL cross B. So we can see that F will be equal to 0 if B in x direction. This is your option A, and B option says that lambda B I in the z direction if B is in the y direction. So if B is in the y direction, obviously it will be ILB sin 90, and B also is correct. So therefore option B correct, and option C is negative y direction if the field is, yes, this also is correct by rules of cross product. Option C correct. So A, B, C is the answer. D is what? Lambda A, that is not correct. Now question is, a wire carrying current I is shaped as shown. Section AB is a quarter circle of radius r. Magnetic field at C, that is the center, is directed along the bisector of the angle ACB, along the bisector of the angle ACB towards AB. Third is perpendicular to the plane of the paper directed into the paper. This is correct. At an angle pi by 4 to the plane of the paper. This is as per the rules to find. So only third option is correct. We have right hand thumb rule to find the direction of the field. Now question number 10 is, a proton is moving in the gravity free space having uniform electrostatic field E of unknown magnitude and direction. There is a uniform magnetic field of 0.01 Tesla pointing in the y direction. The proton moves in the x direction at a constant velocity of 10 km per second. All directions are with respect to the usual xyz coordinate system. Which of the following are correct? E is equal to this. So we can, it is what is given. So proton is moving like this. Velocity is in this direction and magnetic field is pointing in the y direction. So magnetic field is in this direction. So magnetic force V cross B, magnetic force will be in the z direction. So Ez, this must be Ez. So you can see that magnetic force will be EVB in z direction. So to keep it in equilibrium, electrical force is EE must be in negative z direction. So E will be equal to V into B first of all in negative z direction. So this is 10 into 10 to the power 3 into 0.01, that is 100 volt per meter. That is, we can write Ez is equal to minus 100 and obviously Ex. So this is option D, this is option B. B and D will be correct here. Now this is a passage. This says that a coil A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So assume the gap between the sides AH and DE negligible. So then it will become a symmetrical figure, and direction of magnetic field at the geometric center of three-dimensional prism shape coil will be. So let us look at the figure. In fact, magnetic field at the center will be equal to 0, because it is just like, for example, AH and DE, two wires, they are at the same place given in the question, that gap between them is, and they are carrying currents in the opposite direction. So if you look at the loop, current here must be like this. So AH and DE are basically two wires placed at the same location carrying the same currents but in the opposite direction. So their fields at any point in this space must cancel out. So they will cancel out each other's field at any point. And then same is the situation for the other four wires. AB and BCD will cancel each other's field, because you can notice from the figure they are having currents in equal currents in the opposite direction and having the same vector length also. So net field at the center must be equal to 0. So we must go for this option, none of these. Then external magnetic field B naught is applied in the positive Z axis, then the force on the coil ABCDEFGH due to B naught only on it is equal to. So we know its field applied is uniform. It's a closed current loop placed in uniform magnetic field, so force on the current loop must be equal to 0. So this is option A. Then we have, if the mass of the coil is m, in which direction an external magnetic field should be applied so that net normal reaction from the ground is on AH. Net normal reaction from the ground is on AH. You see here net force acting on the closed loop is 0. So therefore it is not a possible situation that normal force will be acting only on AH. It will be uniformly distributed on the wires which are in contact with the ground. So it is not possible. Now come to the passage number 2. Question is, a thin uniform rod with a negligible mass and length 0.2 meter is attached to the floor by a frictionless hinge at point P. A horizontal spring with force constant 4.8 Newton per meter connects the other end of the rod to a vertical wall. The rod is in a uniform magnetic field B directed into the plane of the figure. There is a current of 6.5 ampere in the rod in the direction shown. This is current. So calculate the torque due to magnetic force on the rod for an axis at P. So let us find the direction of the magnetic force on any element. So current is this. So the force can be given by Fleming's left hand rule. So let us draw the figure. It is carrying current like this, field is into the plane. So if I consider an element at a distance r from the hinge like this, so the force will be acting in this direction. So force is acting in this direction. This force will of course produce a clockwise torque. This force will produce a clockwise torque about the hinge at P. And this torque, you can see that this force, either we integrate to calculate the torque, or simply the force on the wire will be ILB. Why? Because IL vector, that is current element vector, is perpendicular to the current wire. So force will be equal to this. And this force effectively we can consider is acting from the center of mass. So this will be L by 2. This distance can be taken as L by 2. So the torque will be simply ILB into L by 2. That is half IL square B. So we can put the values. I is 6.5. This is half into 6.5. L is 0.02 or 0.2 meter. 0.2 meter. So 0.2 square, and B is 0.34. So this will be 0.0442. 0.0442 Newton meter clockwise. Option A will be correct. So the next question is, when the rod is in equilibrium and makes an angle of 53 degree, with the floor, is the spring stretched or compressed? You can see the force, direction of the force, very predictable result. We can see the direction of the force. So from the direction of the force we can say that the spring will be compressed. So just so the spring will be compressed. So it is clear that either B or D. So let us find how much compression will be there. If X is the compression, then we can see that torque due to the spring force and torque due to spring force must counterbalance the torque due to magnetic force. Let the compression be x. So kx into L sine 53. This is torque because of the spring force must be equal to, just we calculated, half I L square B about the hinge. So x will be equal to I L B by K sine 2K sine 53. So from here we will get that x is equal to 6.5 into 0.2 into B is 0.34 and 2 K is 4.8, sine 53 is 4 by 5, that is 0.8. So x will be equal to 0.05765 meter compression. Now come to next passage. Passage is a particle of mass m and charge q is accelerated by a potential difference V volt and made to enter a magnetic field region at an angle theta with the field. At the same moment, another particle of the same mass and charge is projected in the direction of the field from the same point. Magnetic field induction is B. So what would be the speed of the second particle so that both particles meet again and again after a regular interval of time which should be minimum. So clear that first particle will have a helical path and the second particle will move rectilinearly along the field. For the two particles to meet again and again, distances travelled by them must be equal. So we can show it like this, that for the first particle this is projected like this is theta, this is V cos theta, that is V parallel, let us say, and this is B, in this direction it is V sin theta, and for the other particle V dash it is projected in the direction of the field. So it does not experience any force, goes straight. So we can say that the first particle moves in a helical path and the second particle moves linearly. Along the field. For the two particles to meet again and again, So therefore V dash should be equal to V parallel equal to V cos theta, but half mv square is q into V. So therefore V is equal to under root 2qV by m. So V dash is equal to 2qV by m into cos theta. So this is option B. Now find the time interval after which they meet again. So obviously that is time period is 2 pi m by qb. So this is option A, because the particle which is moving in the helical path will be refocused on the magnetic field axis after it completes one circle, and the time to complete one circle is equal to this. And the second particle is always moving along the magnetic axis, that is along the line of the magnetic field. So after this much time they can meet again. So the next question is, find the distance travelled by the second particle during that interval mentioned. So that will of course be V dash into t. So let us calculate it. So, and that distance is also called pitch of the helix. Distance travelled is equal to pitch of the helix, that will be equal to V parallel into t, that is 2qV by m into cos theta into 2 pi m by qb. So this will be 2 V m by q 2 pi by b. So this is third option. Now passage 4. Uniform electric and magnetic field. With strength E and induction B respectively are along y axis as shown, E and B both, and the particle with specified charge q by m leaves the origin in the direction of x axis with an initial non-relativistic velocity v naught. So obviously the path of the particle is a helix, of non-uniform pitch, because there is a electric field along the y axis, along the magnetic field axis, which will accelerate and change the speed of the velocity component in the direction of b. So pitch of the helix cannot be uniform. So coordinate yn of the particle where it crosses the y axis for the nth time will be equal to what? So we can write it like this, that acceleration in the y direction, that will be because of electric field and will be a constant, because uniform electric field is there. So motion of the particle is circular in xz plane with uniform acceleration in y direction. So that is how it is going to move. So V naught square is Vx square plus Vz square, because magnetic forces do not change the speed of the particle, but y component will change, and but Vy will be equal to Qe by m into t. It will change with time. So y coordinate will be equal to half Qe by m into t square, and time period of the circular motion, time period of circular motion in xz plane will be 2 pi m by qb. Let the particle cross y axis after n rotations. So t will be equal to, that is 2 pi m n by qb. So yn will be equal to half qe by m into 2 pi m n by qb square. So this will be equal to 2 pi square m n square e by qb square. So this is your option A. Then next question is, the angle alpha between the particle's velocity vector and the y axis at the moment of crossing, of course, is, we can see that Vy is Ay into t. So this will be equal to Qe by m into 2 pi m n by qb. So this will be 2 pi m n e by b. So that angle will be given by, so V naught b by 2 pi m n e. So alpha is equal to so this is option B. Question is, a conducting bar with mass m and length L slides over horizontal rails that are connected to a voltage source. The voltage source maintains a constant current I in the rails and bar, okay, and constant uniform vertical magnetic field B fills the region between the rails. So find the magnitude and direction of the net force on the conducting bar. Ignore friction, air resistance, electrical resistance. So we can check from the figure, it will be given by Fleming's left hand rule. So the field is upwards, so current is, so the force will be towards right from Fleming's left hand rule, and it is ILB, of course. So this is the answer. Simple Fleming's left hand rule. And next question is, if the bar has mass m, find the distance d that the bar must move along the rails from rest to attain V. So obviously V square will be equal to 2AD. So D will be equal to, so this will be V square by 2 ILB by m. So it will be V square m by 2 ILB. So fourth option. Now we have some subjective questions. Question is, a conducting ring of mass m and radius r has a weightless conducting rod PQ of length, no, it's again a passage. So R and rod PQ of length 2R and resistance 2R attached to it along its diameter. It is pivoted at its center with its plane vertical, and the two blocks of mass m and 2m are suspended by means of a light inextensible string passing over it as shown in the figure. The ring is free to rotate about C, and the system is placed in a magnetic field B into the plane of the ring. The circuit is now completed by connecting the ring at A and C to a battery of EMF V. It is found that for certain value of V, the system remains static. So this is the situation. We have a ring centered at C, and then rod PQ, and at P and Q two masses suspended, and circuit is connected through the battery like this. The circuit is connected to the rod at center and to the ring at point A. So in the static condition, we have to find the current through the rod PG. So current will come through the rod PG. Where is G? current through PG current through the rod, it should be current through the rod PC. This should, G cannot. So okay, from the figure itself we can see that if current I comes, so here it is divided in two parts, I by 2, I by 2, and how the current is going back, this current coming like this, I by 2, I by 2 like this, at point A the two currents join and the circuit is completed. The current will not go in the lower half of the ring, it cannot go in the lower half of the ring because that is connected, that is current has to flow like this only. So as far as total current is concerned, one more thing we can notice that PC and CQ are joined in parallel. So is R by 2. So current through battery to V by R. So therefore current through PC and CQ so yes, option A. Second is net torque applied by the tension in the string can be related to, for this we will have to see what forces. mg T2 F1 F2 So these two PC and CQ will experience force because these are current carrying wires. Placed in magnetic field. So you can see the two portions, the forces F1 and F2, direction is correct. So field is like this. So the magnetic forces. Now we can consider torque at torque balance. So it will be T1 into R plus F1 into R by 2 plus F2 into R by 2, that must be counterbalanced by torque due to T2. So clockwise torque is equal to anti-clockwise torque. Also we can see that T1 will be equal to mg and T2 will be equal to 2 mg. So let us putting the value of T1 and T2. So mg into R plus F1 is Bi R square by 2. Then F2 is again Bi R square by 2 is equal to 2 mg into R. So from we get I is equal to mg by Br, or V by R is equal to mg by Br. So V is equal to mgr by Br. So it is so value of V can be related to this. Is we solved for the this question B part, and for this net torque, so we can find the torque also. So net torque of tension will be T2 minus T1 into R mgr. So this will be equal to BVR square by R. This also is option B. This we solved. Now come to question number 26. Question is: a wooden disc of mass m and radius r has single loop of wire wound on its circumference. It is mounted on a massless rod of length d. Ends of the rod are supported at its ends so that rod is horizontal, disc is vertical. Uniform field B naught exists in vertically upward direction when a current I is given to the wire. One end of the rod leaves the support. Find the least value of I. So this is the situation. So let us draw the free body diagram. Here itself. So here a current I is flowing in the wire wound. So let us call it N1, reaction of the support N2, and mg, and this torque will act in this sense, and magnetic moment vector mu vector of the current loop will be in this direction. So everything is marked here, and this mu will be equal to, we can see that, current into pi r square into area of the loop, and yes, and torque on the loop. Of course, magnetic torque will be equal to mu B naught sine 90, because magnetic field is in the upward direction. So this will be simply I into pi r square into B naught. Direction is mentioned in the figure. So balancing torque on the disc. So let us balance the torques. Balancing on the disc. So this torque tau plus N2 into d by 2. This is balancing the torque because of N1. Look at the directions. So N1 minus N2 will be equal to 2 I into pi r square B naught by d. So also we know that N1 plus N2 will be equal to mg. So solving this, we can find values of N1 and N2. So N1 will be equal to mg by 2 plus I pi r square B naught by d. N2 will be equal to mg by 2 minus I pi r square by d. So clear that N2 is less than N1. So obviously N2 can become 0. So N2 will be 0 if I into pi r square B naught by d is equal to mg by 2. So therefore I is equal to mgd by 2 pi r square into B naught. This is the required answer. Now come to this question number 27. A uniform ring of mass m and radius r carries a current I. The ring is suspended using two identical strings OA and OB. There exists a uniform horizontal field B naught parallel to diameter. Calculate tension in the two strings given theta is equal to 60 degree. Okay, let us make the free body diagram first. This is the AB. Let it be x-axis, y-axis, this as z-axis. Center, and the tension here. T1, T2, theta, theta, current I, field B naught, and mu will be in this direction. The mu vector. So this is this situation. So magnetic dipole moment, we can see that mu vector is equal to I into pi r square k cap, and torque we know is mu cross B. So this is I into pi r square into k cap, and B is equal to B naught into the I pi r square. B is your B naught minus j cap. So we can write j cross k, I k cross minus j is I cap. So this will be I pi r square B naught I cap. This is the torque. To counterbalance this torque, we must have to see figure. To counterbalance this torque, T1 must be greater than T2. So torque about the center T1 cos theta into R minus T2 cos theta into R I cap plus I into pi r square B naught I cap. This must be equal to 0. So this gives us T1 minus T2 is equal to I pi r B naught by cos theta. And one more, we get T1 plus T2 cos theta must be equal to mg. So T1 plus T2 will be mg by cos theta. So these two equations will give us the values of T1 and T2. So T1 will be equal to 1 by 2 cos theta mg plus pi I r B naught cos theta is 60 degree. So this will be equal to simply mg plus pi I R B naught, theta 60 degree, and T2 will be then mg minus pi I R B naught. So values of T1 and T2. Now in a two-dimensional xy plane, the magnetic field lines are circular, centered at the origin. The magnitude of the field is inversely proportional to the distance from the origin, and field at any point P has magnitude B is equal to K upon R, where K is positive constant. A wire carrying current I is led in the xy plane with its ends at points A and point B. Find the force on the wire. So the wires, the 2 points A and B have coordinates given, and the field lines are circular like this. So if we have a point P having coordinates x and y, so R can be written as root over x square plus y square. And field will be tangential to the field lines that can be resolved into components. So let us show it in the diagram like this. This is some point P, and perpendicular to this B, so this angle theta, so B will be equal to minus B sin theta I cap plus B cos theta j cap. And B is given as K by R, that is minus K under root x square plus y square. Sin theta we can always write as sin theta is y by r, that is y by under root x square plus y square I cap, and this is k by, and cos theta is your x by under root x square into j cap. So this B can be written as minus ky by x square plus y square I cap kx by j cap. So it can be written as, so this is the required magnetic field in terms of the coordinates of the points. So now let us consider a small segment of the wire at the point xy, and small segment of the wire AB at P. We can write it as dl vector, that is dx I cap plus dy j cap. So we can find the force on the segment. Force on the df will be equal to I dl cross B, that is I kx dx by x square plus y square k cap plus I ky dy k cap. So f will be equal to integral df. So this will be equal to ki integral x dx plus y dy divided by x square plus y square k cap. This is a, that is coordinates x1 y1, this is b x2 y2. So we have to integrate this. So if we introduce a new variable t, so 2x dx plus 2y dy is equal to dt. So x dx plus y dy will be equal to dt by 2. So we can write that f is equal to ki by 2 integral dt by t k cap a to b. So this will be ki by 2 and this will be log of t. So this will be ki by 2 log of x2 square plus y2 square divided by x1 square plus y1 square k cap. This is the required force. Now a straight current wire has its one end attached to an infinite conducting sheet shown as a circle in the figure. The other end of the wire goes to infinity and the wire is perpendicular to the sheet. The current spreads uniformly on the surface of the sheet. Calculate the magnitude of the magnetic induction field at a point P at a distance d from the straight wire. Current in the wire is I. So this is the figure, this is the situation. So what we do here, this current in the straight wire is spreading like this. So let us apply Ampere's law. For that we need a closed path called Amperian loop. So let us consider an Amperian loop of radius d. This is our Amperian loop and apply Ampere's law, then integral b dot dl will be equal to mu naught into the current enclosed. So obviously b into 2 pi d, so b will be equal to mu naught I by 2 pi d. This will be the required answer. Now the question is, a wire carrying a current I is led in the shape of a curve which is represented in plane polar coordinates as r is equal to b plus c by pi into theta, for theta between 0 and pi by 2. Here b and c are positive constants. Theta is the angle measured with respect to the positive x-axis in the anticlockwise sense, and r is the distance from the origin. Calculate the magnetic field at the origin due to this wire. So like this, it is x-axis, this is our say r cap, this distance is r, so this is dr, this angle is theta. So this is dl. So this is, let us resolve. So this is dr, this is rd theta, and this direction is called theta cap, and this is r cap. So dl, elemental length, we can write as dr into r cap plus rd theta into theta cap, resolved into two mutual perpendicular components. So dB will be mu naught by 4 pi I dl cross I dl cross minus r cap by r square. So this will be mu naught I by 4 pi r square. This dl cross r cap will be along k cap, and dl cross r is your I d theta mu naught I by 4 pi r square, and this we can write as dr r cap plus r d theta theta cap minus r cap. So this will be simply r, we can take out mu naught I by 4 pi r, mu naught I by 4 pi I d theta, this first term will vanish, I d theta by r k cap. So this B will be equal to mu naught I by 4 pi integral d theta by r is b plus c by pi into theta in this direction. So this will be 0 to pi by 2. So this will be mu naught I by 4 pi by c log of b plus c by pi into theta 0 to pi by 2. So this will be mu naught I by 4c log of b plus c by 2 minus log of b. So b will be equal to mu naught I by 4c log of 1 plus, this is the required answer. Now a light freely deformable conducting wire with insulation has its two ends A and C fixed to the ceiling. The two vertical parts of the wire are close to each other. A load of mass m is attached to the middle of the wire. The entire region has a uniform horizontal field B directed out of the plane of the figure. Prove that the two parts of the wire take the shape of a circular arc when a current I is passed through the wire. Neglect the magnetic interaction between the two parts of the wire. So the hanging, two parts through which the mass m is hanging. So if current is passed, or magnetic field is there, so force will be in the outward direction and it is free to move, so it has to open up into a circle. There is no doubt about this. And this is a standard result. We know that T will be equal to IRB if R is the radius. So magnetic force, we can see that magnetic force on any small element of the wire is perpendicular to its length. It means that tension will be constant in the wire. Now let us consider a small segment of wire. So magnetic force, this is tension T, this is tension T, and this is so we can see that Fm is equal to I R delta theta into B, and this is balanced by components of tension. So therefore 2T sine delta theta by 2, this will be equal to I R delta theta into B, I R delta theta into B. So therefore T will be equal to I R B. So R will be equal to T by IB constant. So radius of curvature remains constant, means that the two segments will take the yes.